It is an end of an era. CBR4 is finally getting a nerf. CBR4 has been meta since December 2021 when it got recall buff in season 11 of COD Mobile, and it was number 1 in my top 5 ranking back then. And over the seasons, CBR4 has consistently been meta, holding the number 1 spot for 1 year and 9 months. And even in current season, people consider CBR4 to be best, even with meta alternatives like FFAR and Razorback that can be used instead. As such, CBR4 has been one of the most impactful and influential weapon in history of CODM, not only in ranked but even in pro play. But questions must be asked. What made it so dominating that 100 weapons in game, but CBR4 shown the brightest among them all for such a long time?
NANI?
First is the stats aspect. Meta stands for most effective tactic available, and for a weapon to fit this criteria, they have to be statistically viable. There are tons of weapons we can use in ranked and dominate with. Take KN44 for example, great weapon in alternative to LK24 which is meta, but KN44 is not considered meta. As such, meta isn't a subjective preference, like you preferring TRH does not make it meta. But if a weapon is objectively the best, no one can stop it from being the most effective tactic. That is what happened with CBR4. Type 25 was considered meta back then, but CBR4 was objectively better and had more advantages to it. I compare Type 25 versus CBR4 here if you want to watch. Both CBR4 and Type 25 were used for the same playstyle and utility, but since CBR4 offered more advantages, people considered it to be better and used it instead of Type 25, snatching the number 1 spot away from Type 25. But just because weapon is statistically viable does not mean people will prefer it. For people to prefer X over Y, we need to consider another factor, the practical aspect. How easy is the weapon to use? How well can we do with it without prior practice? How accurate are the first few shots? Etc. are some questions that must be asked, and CBR4 delivered upon it. CBR4 had easy recall pattern, making even average players who log in once a week do well with it. And in the hands of intermediate or veteran player, CBR4 with no recall like we are using LK24. It also has good bullet spread and good initial accuracy, making CBR4 challenge longer range gunfights and win. Thus, CBR4 already checked 2 of the boxes, stats and practical, but CBR4 offered even more benefits. And now is a good time to leave a like and comment something nice to help support the video. The free-to-play aspect is not talked of at all, but for a weapon to be ubiquitous, it needs to be FTP friendly. Take Cryx 6 for example, great gun but not used much. It needs a red dot as the iron sights are not good enough, and using a red dot does not give us a good build, and using alternate weapons like Kill 141 would be better. I actually had to make this video on why Cryx 6 is meta, since people were convinced it's bad. Such is the impact of free-to-play, as majority player base either only buy the battle pass and don't spend that much on crates or draws. And by FTP friendly, I mainly mean the iron sights. Type 25, which was meta back then, fell off due to the iron sights being bad and needing to use red dot, which wasted an attachment slot and not many had the good geometry skin. But CBR4 did not have this issue. The base iron sights are very clean and offers one of the best free-to-play experience in COD Mobile. But it doesn't end there, because if you have money to spare, you could buy the legendary CBR4, which is considered one of the best legendary in COD Mobile. The legendary had some advantages like more stable aim shake, so the iron sight did not shake as much, making it easier to concentrate on the enemy, as well as the gun sound being nicer to the ears, which gives a psychological effect that made us prefer legendary over the base CBR4. The iron sights were also improved, giving a better visual experience, and considering how long CBR4 has been meta, legendary CBR4 was the best return of investment in COD Mobile. But one thing CBR4 did well is how the free-to-play versus pay-to-win aspect was balanced, as unlike Cryx 6 where the iron sight is bad and we need to use red dot, the mythic literally helps with visibility and giving a free attachment slot. CBR4 did not have any drastic advantages, so people who could pay were happy with their purchase, and people who did not want to pay were happy with the base weapon. Another factor which is not talked of is the wall penetration. Usually SMGs have low wall penetration, making wall banks not worth it. but CBR4 has medium penetration, which is what we see on assault rifles, and it was the only SMG at that time to have medium penetration, making it really popular among pro players, as players who usually would use assault rifle with FMJ for wall banging had switched to CBR4 and got benefits like better mobility with the advantage of FMJ. And it is pretty well known that if a weapon is used by pros, it is going to be good, and since pros were abusing CBR4, ranked abused CBR4 as well, which contributed to its overwhelming popularity. And for more analysis and best Gunsmith builds, you can join our Discord server. But to me, the icing on the cake is how ranked is played. If we use an aggressive weapon like Fennec or QQ9, then we need to rush and play close range, giving us no chance to challenge even mid-range gunfights. While if we use a passive weapon like LK24, then we need to hold angles and take mid to long range gunfights, making us lose if we try to play aggressive. This is a problem, but CBR4 did not have this issue. CBR4 was a versatile weapon, allowing us to play close range when needed and support the team from mid to long range when needed. It allowed us to play very dynamically with no set role and no limitations on playstyle. Just play as you see fit, making versatile weapons preferred over aggressive or passive weapons. Why out of 10 players in lobby, you could see at least 7 CBR4, because it could do it all. And the stats advantage comes into play, as things like fast fire rate, good hit fast spread or fast reload speed with big mag etc. made it a good aggressive weapon, while bullet spread, recall and initial accuracy made it good for beaming at longer ranges. And since CBR4 had been meta for such a long time, and people had been using it for months and had pretty much mastered the weapon, even with the nerfs in coming seasons, CBR4 never fell off, as people would see a dip in performance if they switched weapons, while CBR4 continued being used. All of these factors combined helped CBR4 be meta for nearly 2 years, and even though it is getting nerfed next season, I can bet that people will continue using it, and CBR4 won't fall from grace. The C in CODM stands for CBR4 on duty mobile. Such is the impact CBR4 had on COD Mobile. And watch next why you should use distance acceleration in COD Mobile. And I will see you soon. Bye.